सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। आपने देखा तो आई डोंट सी कोशिश। हाँ वो नीचे I should be accurate in tossing this, otherwise it goes out, sometimes. Then I need another assistant to pick it up. So this morning we saw how it is important to discover that I am a mumukshu, although we are all born mumukshus, meaning that we are born with the desire for moksha. Mumuksha means the desire for moksha. The word moksha can be translated as freedom, moktumicha, mumukshata, the desire for freedom. But then we should also qualify that freedom as unconditional freedom. Not only we want freedom, we want freedom with no conditions attached. Swami, you are free to do what you want as long as you sit here. Not when you get up from here, that's not right. Or that's not enough. As long as in this hall you are free, not when you are outside. Not so. That's not, I want something more than that. Meaning that I want to be free at all places, at all times. You are free as long as you are with us, Swamiji. The moment you go to the world, I want to be free under all conditions. At all the times, at all the places, under all conditions. That kind of freedom we want. And freedom also means happiness. Because Atmavasham Sukham, that is called happiness when there is Atmavashyata, meaning when there is freedom. Sarvam Parvasham Dukkham, wherever there is Parvashata or dependence, that is called Dukkham. Sarvam Atmavasham Sukham. So, dependence, helplessness means dukkha, and freedom means sukha. So freedom and sukha are equated by Manusmriti. So either we can call it freedom or happiness, because we are happy only when we are free. So mumukshata, the desire for unconditional freedom, also means desire for unconditional happiness. We are born with that desire. It's not that we willed to have that desire. Not someday in the morning I woke up, I want to be free now, I don't want to be bound anymore. It's not that someday the desire arose, that I decided to have that desire. That we have it, we are born with it. It is the natural desire. There are other desires called cultivated desires. Like desire for food to appease hunger is a natural desire. But desire for pizza is a cultivated desire. Desire to quench the thirst, natural desire. Desire for Pepsi, cultivated desire. The reason why this is pointed out is that in the scheme of things, there is a provision for fulfilling the natural desires. Because Ishvara, our Creator, has given us those desires. We have not created them. And therefore, He should have provided the means also to fulfill those desires. After all, the creation is coming from the Omniscient One, not only all-knowing, not only all-powerful, but all-merciful, it's a benevolent Ishvara. So not that He gave us a desire and left us hanging with the desire, no means to fulfill desire. That would be a manufacturing error in Puja Swamiji's words. That cannot be. So all natural desires like hunger and thirst should have provisions for fulfilling those desires in the scheme of things. So this desire for freedom, happiness or freedom, unconditional freedom, that moksha is also a natural desire. And therefore, there must be a means to fulfill that desire. And as you know very well, all our activities are prompted by this one desire of unconditional freedom or unconditional happiness, the only desire behind all the desires. So, of course, that has to be recognized. The desire behind all the desires is desire for moksha. That dharma, artha, kama represent various kinds of desires. And as long as that discernment, viveka or discernment has not taken place, so long all those desires are thought to be different, and the human being keeps on struggling to fulfill those desires one after the other, not recognizing what it is that he is seeking. Even though the desires keep on being fulfilled, and every one of us has fulfilled countless desires, many desires have been fulfilled. So desires keep on coming and going, but the desirer seems to be a permanent entity. The desirer doesn't go. But person never thinks. He thinks that it is nature of desire to keep on arising and keeps on fulfilling them. Most people do not think. Gatanu gatiko loka, we do what other people are doing. A desire arises, they fulfill, that's I also do that. Like a sheep following the sheep. If the sheep in the front encounters a ditch and falls down, and jumps up. The second fellow also will fall down and jump up. It wouldn't think that I should, turn around. And so human beings are like that. Essentially, we do what other people do. In India, we do what the Westerners do what some other people do, but we keep on following the pattern, which is already said. Meaning that people don't think. Otherwise, they think a lot about my personal freedom, human rights, this right, and they should think. We think about lots of things which we should. I don't say we should not, but then this thing we never think. That this desire seems to perpetuate. In spite of desires being fulfilled, countless desires have been fulfilled. And still, the desire perpetuates. This is not somehow noticed by us. That what we need to do is about the desire rather than desire. Isn't it? Desire comes and goes, but desire doesn't go. And desire is not the cause of unhappiness. The desire is the cause of unhappiness. Desire means one who is lacking or wanting. A desire is an expression of inner lack or want. And inner dissatisfaction, as we said this morning. Desires are created by the inner self-dissatisfaction. Not just dissatisfaction with other things. If other thing causes self-dissatisfaction, that becomes important to me. Otherwise, nothing is important. The only one that is important is myself. And that way, when anything gets connected to me, then it becomes a problem or a solution. Something gives me happiness only when it gets connected to me, and something gives me unhappiness again only when it gets connected to me. In the newspapers every year, there are photographs of boys and girls who have scored first 10 ranks in the 12th grade. It's a great accomplishment. I look at them and turn the page. Someday there is a familiar face. Hey, this is my friend's son. Then it creates a different feeling in me, is it not so? This is my nephew. Let alone my own son, there is no question about it. But then, even as someone I am connected to, creates a different feeling from someone I am not connected to. Is it not so? Why is it so? The accomplishment by that child creates in me a sense of pride. Oh, I have not done anything, I haven't even passed 12th grade. How happiness gets created when what I consider a desirable event gets connected to I. Many sons are born, many children, every day they are born. A given child is born is a different matter. Many people pass exams, but a given person passes. Many things happen, but a given thing happens. When it gets connected to I. And so also, unhappiness is created when it gets connected to I. When American soldiers went to Iraq, so for every day there will be names. 3 American soldiers died. The names will be, they should not die. But then, that's all that is important. 3,000 Iraqis died, that nobody mentions that. These people in Syria and Iraq were saying, hey, what are you talking about? Some kind of a terrorist event took place in Paris and 12 people were killed and then the whole world was shaken up. And so many, the vigils were there at night and showing lights and, In our country, hundreds of people are dying out of tragedy every day. Nobody bothers about it. Something happens to the West, that's all matters to them. And there's not a commentary. All I'm saying is how things matter to us when we get connected. That's all. No commentary upon right, wrong, or indifferent. Who cares? Things can happen in Russia. Even Russians are also dying, generals are dying, and these fellows are dying. And Zelensky. Somebody says now we have to remember different new names. Formerly Ramdesivir and stuff like that. Now it's Zelensky and so whatever things have changed. But what does it matter? The West will say that, we cannot get involved. It's your war and you fight. Now, I'm not here to make any all I'm saying is how things become important only when they get connected to the I. Whatever I consider as I. My notion of I may be different from your notion of I. I may identify the whole India and so something happens there, something I feel. Or I may identify only my state, my town, my family, myself. Sometimes nothing gets connected to me, or everything gets connected, depends upon my identification. So this happiness, sarvam paravasham dukkham, sarvam atmavasham sukham. With this paravashata, with this dependence, helplessness, that is dukkham, that is freedom, that is sukham. So mumukshvata means freedom or happiness. And that is why I say that is the fundamental need of the human beings, which you know very well. What is important to us is that it should become our need. This is a human need. Moksha is the human need. It should become my need, meaning that I should recognize that it is my need. I should also recognize that it is a need behind all the needs. It is the only need I have. When this becomes clear to me, then what all I am doing has a different meaning. Then pursuit of Vedanta does not mean intellectual pursuit. It becomes a very emotional, personal thing. So that viveka is important. That I am a mokshu. Then all other desires and pursuits will be unimportant. So that is why for mumukshu they prescribe the karma sannyasa. That all the karma or all the duties that you performed, all the worship that we have performed, the purpose of which is to bring about an inner transformation. When that transformation has taken place, when this recognition happens in me, that all that matters to me is moksha and nothing else, then things have done their job. Although Puja Swami would like to add one more step, that a mumukshu should also get transformed to a jignasu, but that is what I call mumukshu. Yes, the second step is also that the desire for moksha can be fulfilled only by the self-knowledge. And I say self-knowledge, not just any knowledge. Because bondage is a problem centered upon the self, and as Vedanta teaches us, that bondage is a notion, not a reality of our life. We feel helpless, we feel bound. That helplessness, bondage, limitedness, and they cannot go together. I am unhappy, I am bound, I am limited. This I am and limited cannot coexist. That's what Vedanta teaches us. Although this is called Samadhikaran, I am limited, I am in limited in the same case, is not? Same nominative case. Samanadhikaram, there is in locus. But that is our parakrama. That's what we have done. By putting them two things that are in different locus, the Vyadhikaram, they are in different locus. We have accomplished putting them in the same locus. That is limited. No doubt limitation is there. Dukkha is there, I won't accept. This Sukha Dukkha etc. I do not accept. There is no Sukha and Dukkha. Sukha is not a vritti or not a state of mind. Or Dukkha. This just by the way I am saying just to display my, thinking. But Sukha and Dukkha are reactions. They are not happenings. If something has happened, therefore it is Sukha. Because I am honored, therefore there is Sukha. I am successful, therefore there is Sukha or happiness. Nothing can be equated to happiness or unhappiness. No event or happening can be equated to happiness or unhappiness. It is how I interpret that event that creates in me the reaction of happiness or unhappiness. Happiness is a reaction. That means I have a choice. Unhappiness is a reaction, which means I have a choice of not being unhappy. If unhappiness was happening, then I can't avoid it. If Sukha, Dukkha are supposed to be, things that are happening, it's a part of the, life, then I can't avoid it. They are not part of life. Events are part of life. So success and failure are part of life. Even that is also not. But suppose accepting that success and failure are part of success also is not a part of life. Success also is my interpretation of an event. And failure also is my interpretation of an event. Is it not so? It's likely that the same thing I may call success in some conditions and failure in different conditions. If I'm hungry for the whole day, then it's just a piece of bread, maybe a stale piece of bread. Also, I would welcome it and I found it, I'm successful. I'm searching for food. And if I'm well fed, then even, there's some sweets, etc., I may not care. So understand, even success also is a reaction, and failure also a reaction to an event. What is that? Is an event? When I interpret that as success, then there is further reaction of happiness. Why happiness? Because I congratulate myself. I am successful. Success also doesn't create happiness. When I connect it with myself, then I am happy. India, Pakistan, gain, Pakistan is successful. I'm sorry to say that I'm not happy. I should not be. A Swami is not supposed to have any kind of partiality. But still, A success? Whose success? Pakistan's success, not my success. India wins. I don't know how to hold a bat, by the way. And still when one of our players hits a sixer, I think that I feel so happy that I have hit a sixer. That's my identification. But when it connects with I, because of identification, let us say, that's when something makes me happy. If an event was happiness and every time a sixer is hit I should be happy, a real cricket lover will enjoy every stroke. Not that this person did it or anybody who does it, they will enjoy, the commentators enjoy, look at what a wonderful ball it is. I don't enjoy it. If that's a ball by which my favorite player is out, I don't like that ball. The idea is that even happiness, unhappiness, all of these are reactions. They are not descriptions of events. Success, failure also is not description of event, it is a reaction. I am successful, I am happy, I am unhappy. There is not a reality. Again, further. Happy is someplace, accepting is there, and unhappy. Also, it doesn't belong to I am. It's not in the same locus as I am. You accept that happiness is a state of mind. Then for me to say I am happy, then also I am equating I with the state of mind. Is it not so? When I say I am happy, then I am unhappy. They enjoy at that time same degree of reality. If you are happy, then it's a different thing in me. Is it not so? So remember, understand what we are doing. When I say I am happy, happiness is there someplace. I am there someplace. I am there as I am. Happiness is where, in a given event, let us say. Happiness is there even in the mind, let us say. But I declare I am happy. That is when the happiness also becomes, the moment you connect with I, it becomes a problem. Happiness also becomes a problem? Why should happiness become a problem, Swamiji? Unhappiness, I can understand the problem. Why happiness? Because happiness I want to hold on to. I don't want to let it go. Unhappiness I don't want. Happiness I want to hold on to. In that sense, so when something gets connected to I, that is when it matters to me. So similarly also this recognition that this I am happy, unhappy, I am limited, I am bound, that I am is in one location, bound is in different location. Why am I bound? Swamiji, next morning you must come here at 7 o'clock. Now that is a big problem for me. You were looking at the clock and then 7 minutes late, 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late, and my heartbeats go up, as the time comes. So this is all called, what shall I say? In Hindi we say julam, So this is kind of pressure always on me, for me, and as far as Swami, there is no problem. They are always in time, So that is, for them it's all right. Anyway, the idea is that how anything can create pressure in you, the dependence. Because I have to follow some rule. And not following a rule has a consequence. When I'm endowed, there is no consequence. When I'm here, there is a consequence. Because I must keep my good impressions before all of you. Anyway, so what I'm saying, when I feel this pressure, etc., so it's I am, the pressure, etc., all of this in some other place. It is out there. At the most it is in the mind. All of them are not in I am, understand? I am connecting the two, what belong to different locuses, loci, whatever you call it. They in fact, I am making them in one location. So this is the fundamental teaching of Vedanta. Happiness is there in some place. I am in one place. I am happy is my creation. There is no such thing as I am happy. Unhappiness is in some place. That also is not there, but accepting this is there. I am in some place. I am unhappy is my personal creation. Vedanta calls it projection. It's my personal projection. Happiness that belongs to some place such as mind, I am lumping it together, in the words of Swami, lumping together with I am. And therefore, the problem that I have of feeling unhappy, miserable, dependent, helpless is something that I am creating. We said this morning that we have a tendency to take for presuppose that all this is done by the other people. The world was doing it to me. World is making me helpless. World is compelling me. World is, and therefore I do something. See, when that is the conclusion, then I do something with the world. Whatever I think is the cause of problem, that's what I try to solve. Is it not so? And therefore I rearrange the things around me. If this arrangement doesn't make me happy, I rearrange it. Looks good from this standpoint. From that standpoint, not so good. Rearrange again. As long as this conclusion remains in me that my unhappiness, sadness, my problem is caused by something other than me, so long I'm always busy out there arranging, rearranging, changing. You study Paranchikhani, Vitura Swayambhuhu, Tasmat Parang Vasyati, Nantaratmananda. Kathopanishad says that Ishvara has brought sent us with this kind of conclusions. Extrovertedness. Paranchikhani, the sense organs are made to look outward. The mind is made to look outward. In simpleton, it means that sense organs are designed only to perceive the objects outward. The mind is designed to think that its problem is out there. Meaning we are born with this tendency. Vyaturat Swayambhuhu, Ishvara has as though hurt us, destroyed us by creating this conclusion that the cause of my happiness and unhappiness is out there. It's a conclusion, nobody has told me. So Vedanta addresses this basic conclusion. Only Vedanta addresses that. Everybody else takes that conclusion for granted that you are unhappy and you have to become happy. Including Mimamsakas and all of them think that you are unhappy and so they provide a means of becoming happy. And all other, as best as I know, all the traditions also give us the means of becoming happy. By doing something, so you go to some other world, go to paradise, and Vedanta says no. I am happy. Is it a reality about you? Or is it a notion, a result of the so-called superimposition? In short, that I am bound, I am unhappy is not a reality about me. It is a false notion that I am entertaining about myself. So this is the second recognition. First recognition is that all I am seeking in my life is moksha or unconditional freedom, unconditional happiness. And second, why am I seeking freedom? Is it because I am bound? Is that why I am seeking freedom? Vedanta says, no, because I think I am bound, therefore I am seeking freedom. This is a master stroke that Vedanta has. That I am bound is not a reality about me, it is a notion about me. Reality about me, then karma is the answer. You do something. If you are really bound, then you must do something to become free. But regardless of what I do, the notion doesn't go, because the very attempt to make myself free perpetuates the notion that I am bound. I'm untrue, by the way. I don't know whether I've done something. So it's not the unhappiness that has to go, not the bondage that has to go, it is the notion that I am bound that has to go. So this should become very clear. Unhappiness is not my nature. Sadness is not my nature. And I am constantly attempting to become free from unhappiness, free from sadness, and I am not successful. Because if unhappiness was my nature, then I can remove unhappiness and become happy. By attempt to remove unhappiness perpetuates the notion of my being unhappy. Because unhappiness is not in I am. Unhappiness is elsewhere, in a state of mind, in some event. So this poor human being is struggling whole of his life to accomplish something that cannot be accomplished. The 10th man story, searching for the 10th man. I guess everybody knows the story, isn't it? Now people are scared, when I talk of 10th man, they're afraid, they Lord Swami will tell the whole story, which they have heard at least 100 times. But in an audience like this, at least somebody who has not heard the 10th man story. Not heard? See that? I'm sorry about that. And you may not have heard the 10th man story that I tell also, by the way. So when you tell others, then you should know how to tell that. Say, once upon a time, 10 boys, went off for a picnic. That's not right. How do you know there are 10 boys? How did they know we are 10? So you have to add something there. Once upon a time, a group of boys went to an elderly person in the village, seeking his permission to go for a picnic. There is a custom in the village. The elder was very kind, fortunately. And okay, you can go, but then one of you must take the responsibility of bringing everybody safely back. Somebody volunteered. I take the responsibility. Then the elder says, fellows, come on, stand up before me, line up, let me count you. This step you add, you follow? Then he counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's how it is established at that 10, you follow? Otherwise, how is it established? But establish first that there are 10. Because children do not know. They are not counted. So the elder man says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Look, you are 10 of you, okay? So it's your responsibility to bring them back. Yes, I'll do that. That is the idea of 10 is planted in their mind. Then this story is the same. So then they go for a picnic next day and then they come across the river. They all swim across the river because they are all raised in the village and so they know how to swim. Reach the other bank of the river. Now then this fellow who has taken responsibility of bringing everybody safe, now he is concerned. So before we proceed further, let me make sure if all of us have reached safely or not. Then he said, all 10 must come back. How do you know how many are there? You should count. Come on fellows, stand in. That's how he told them to stand, Let me count you. Because he has seen how to count. Otherwise he would not know how to do that. Is it not so? I'm telling you how to tell the story. Thank God, so far nobody has questioned, So you get away with it. So now he knows how to count. Line up in front of me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 of. Now you know the answer, isn't it? Are there 9 or 10? Are there 9 or 10? How many are there? There are 9 or 10? 10? But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He counts only 9. So 10th man is lost, is it not? No clear answer, okay. So then they all concluded, not only he counted, then further one more step we should add. Maybe I am making a mistake. Maybe you come forward. So each one by one, each one of them came forward. This fellow joined the line and then they would stand in front and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Each one of them counted. Now they're all convinced that the 10th man is lost. Otherwise you don't know how to count. So each one counted. So there is nobody to question anybody. Now this conclusion, like we have, I'm unhappy, I'm bound, I'm limited. That's the conclusion. And that conclusion is not questioned. The 10th man is lost, so they search for the 10th man. Naturally they cannot find him. Can they find the 10th man? No, why? Why can't they find him? Because he's not lost. Is it not so? How many 10th men are there? How many are there? Huh? There are 10th men, but how many are 10th men? Each of them. So they are all searching. Then each is searching for his own. Each is 10th man, isn't it? Because each one counts. Doesn't include himself. And when will they find 10th man? As long as they are searching for, they can never find. Is it not so? Why is it so? Because it is based on conclusion that the 10th man, I am not the 10th man. And counting and not finding 10 men does not change that conclusion, unfortunately. It never makes him think, the tube light never happens, that I am not finding him. Maybe there is something wrong in our assumption, no? The assumption remains unaddressed. And for the whole day they cannot find, disappointed, sad. What reply shall I give in the village when I go back? If you ask what's the description of 10th man, nobody will tell you, by the way. That's another thing you also had. How does the 10th man look like? Nobody has an answer. Nobody has thought about it. How does the happy man look like? Nobody has an answer. Nobody has thought about it. Because you cannot objectify yourself. Anyway, so many lessons are there, you will also get some. And so when they are all disappointed, fortunately another elderly person is passing by, he saw these children very unhappy, he asks them what's the matter, and he says how one of them is lost. How do you decide one of them is lost? I decide you, let me show me. That he counts in front of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there are only 9. I know where the 10th man is. Where is he? Have you seen him? Yes. So he thought that he has seen him someplace else, Where is he? Where is he? I'll tell you where he is. Count again. So when he says that now there is Shraddha, he knows. He's not what he's talking about. So Shraddha, otherwise if you simply listen, that doesn't work. When you listen to him with Shraddha, but he knows what he's talking about. He is a well-wisher. He wants to help us. Then, now count again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. With all Shraddha, he says, where is the 10th man? You are the 10th man. So this is the famous Vedantic story. And almost in every class, we have to tell this story. There may be somebody who doesn't know. Meaning that the 10th man is law. I am not the 10th man is not the reality about me, it is notion about me. Then they will tell you all technical terms of upadhi and upahita and superimposition and things like that. That Swami will teach you. Teaching Brahma Sutra, Bhashya, Arthadhyasa. Don't ask me those questions, the technical questions. That all Vyakarana questions, everything will be there with Swamini and Swami. But this is the story of our life. Each one of us searching for happiness, freedom, just as the 10th man is searching for the 10th man. The solution is not in attaining freedom. Solution is in knowing that I was bound is a notion and not a reality about me. So Puja Swamiji says, Vedanta addresses the realities of life. Reality about myself, basically. Now, to understand reality, I have to understand reality of the world also, so they talk about world also and Ishvara also. But to us, really, Ishvara is also not important between you and me. Atmastu kamaya suram priyam bhavati. Ishvara is also dear because I am dear to me. They're pretty self-centered people. And so you can say it is basically inquiry about the self, about who I am. Because I entertain notion about my own self. Unfortunately, that notion or misconception of myself also causes misconception about you, about the world, and misconception about Ishvara. By misconception I mean wrong understanding, wrong conclusions. Just as my perception of myself is wrong, so also my perception of the world is wrong, and my perception of Ishvara also is wrong. And our whole life is based on these wrong perceptions. And we never ever think that they are wrong perceptions. You start asking all questions, taking for granted who you are. Then all questions arise. Is it not so? But then the question as to who am I, that question doesn't arise. So that is why we have to go to a teacher who makes us see that there is something fundamentally wrong here. In the basic assumptions of life, there is something fundamentally wrong. So this is how self-knowledge becomes important. So thus first recognizing that what I am seeking is moksha, and second step is more sophisticated. Recognizing that the bondage is a notion, and therefore self-knowledge is the means to remove the notion of bondage and not make me free. Enable me to own up the freedom which is my nature. You become a Swami, owner. Not, Vedanta doesn't make us free. Nobody can make anybody free. Vedanta helps us recognize that freedom is my nature. This understanding makes a person jignasu. First a mumukshu and then a jignasu. Then tadvijnanatham sugunavave gachet. Where is that statement? I'm asking this side. But anyway, they know. They've just finished it. But you know what? This was in the beginning of the Upanishad. By the time you come to the end, perhaps Shamanako hoye mahasalaha angirasam upasanna papracha. So then Upanishad says, when you become a jignasu, now that they don't explain, Swamiji. You know, that statement says, Nasthe krutah krutena parikshalokan karmachetan brahmano nirvedamaya nasthe krutah krutena parikshalokan. Analyzing every way all the accomplishments in my life. I'm simply transferring lokan as the accomplishments in my life, which have been already done and if they are possible in my life. Whatever it is possible for me to achieve in my life. What is that I achieved and what is possible to achieve. This is what this person analyzes. That's a great blessing. People are in a rat race and they have achieved one thing and the second thing and the third thing because he looks at somebody else who has achieved more and looks at something else. That's how things go on. For somebody to stand or stop and pause, parikshalokan, karmachitan, whatever can be accomplished by an effort, what I accomplished so far, and what is possible to be accomplished. Nasta krutah krutena, akrutah krutena karma nasti. That by karma I cannot accomplish the akrutah, uncreated. How did you know that? I don't know. You examine all the lokas that are all limited, all accomplishments limited. That statement says the uncreated or limitless cannot be accomplished by karma. I don't know how that step came. Anyway, the next step says, Tad vijnanartham, for knowledge of that, he should approach knowledge of what? How did that happen? How did it get transformed to desire for knowledge? So somehow this recognition that the uncreated cannot be accomplished by karma, the next line says, Tad vijnanartham, for the knowledge of that. So what's the connection? I don't know. That's the connection, that is Ishvara's grace, I guess. But therefore somehow that transformation happened to this person. Tad vijnanartham, for the knowledge of that, he should approach the teacher, a competent teacher. So the Upanishad describes how a person is transformed into a jignasu, into a seeker of knowledge. It's all miracle really. I mean, there is no logical explanation as to how a person who is all after accomplishment somehow gets transformed into a seeker of knowledge. Must be pura punya. When that happens, that's a great thing. Atha, that is where the auspiciousness comes. Athato Brahma Jignasa. When you become jignasu, then everything in life, all your effort, everything has served the purpose. So Vedanta says that what all we do in our life has served the purpose. Our life has become successful when there arises in our mind a desire for the knowledge of the self. It's amazing how a desire is a mark of success, is it not so? In the sadhana chatursa sampatti, what is the fourth sampatti? Desire. How can desire be a qualification? You cannot desire to have desire, is it not so? Now I am not going to have, now I am going to have desire for moksha. You can't will a desire. How do they give that as a qualification? Viveka I can understand, Vairagya I can understand, Samadhi Siddha Sampatti I can understand. Mumukshutvam, how can, it's not something that I can will. Desire for moksha is not something that I will. Yes, Swami, now decide I am going to have moksha. That has to happen. A desire has to happen. It can't be a qualification like other three qualifications which were accomplished by effort. But those efforts have become successful when they result into the desire for moksha. Thus when mumuksha arises, otherwise called vividisha, desire for knowledge arises, then all the karma has accomplished the purpose. Tametam vedanavachanena brahmanaha vividishanti yajnena dhanena tapasa anashakena. I am saying all this just for the benefit of some other people, but then it's nice to hear. That's how the people are performing in their life every day. Dedicated activities of yajna, worship, dhanam, charity, tapasarya, austerity. And Vedanavachanam, recital of Vedas or Stotra, scriptures. All these create punya. But the kind of that punya can give rise to karma phala or punya phala, the happiness. But when you do this without the desire for happiness, then what happens? Then that punya creates the desire for knowledge. So nishkama karma ke vividishanti, the desire to know. And therefore, what Vedanta teaches us is that in our life, if we discover a value for knowledge, which all of you have discovered the fact that you are here, for whatever reason you are here, at least you could have done something else other than this. I mean, not sitting here, there is a lot of shopping going on out there also that you could have done, which somebody will be doing also. People sneak out. But that you are here listening to this thing is not an easy thing to listen to. I mean, it's not an entertaining thing, really. And all still eagerly listening. That's all result of punya karma. Some punya must be, has fructified to bring us here, to make us sit here, to listen to this, and think about this, learn from this. All of this happen because of the grace of Ishvara, because of pura punya. That's how a mumukshu is transformed to a jignasu. Then the Upanishad comes. All this has happened. And then the role of the Upanishad is there. So we presume that this has all taken place in case of the 7th chapter that we are going to study also. And we'll continue that tomorrow morning. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.